Gonna put the blanks up on the board. You're gonna pull them back down. 100 points every time you get one right.
I'm going to try and do a presentation on a lot of the topics that I think you're here to ask questions about. We received a lot of emails. We all know a lot of stuff's been on Facebook, and I tried to collect as much information as I could so that I can answer those questions during the presentation. So I know a lot of people have similar topics they wanted to speak to. There aren't a lot on the list that want to speak, but we don't want the meeting to unnecessarily go too late if everybody's questions have already been answered. So I'm going to try to do my best to do that, but I still want to kind of lay out what we're going to be doing. So this meeting is an opportunity for members to ask board questions on any topic. Board members will be available to provide information and respond to operational questions within their area of responsibilities. What that means is, everybody knows Ken, right? Everybody knows Ken? Ken, this guy over here. So Ken will answer any questions that you might have about landscaping and irrigation. That is his area of expertise. He's also the board liaison to the landscape committee. Mark, this guy here, he holds the checkbook as treasurer, but also he is a liaison to the finance committee, and he will answer any questions that we might have related to how do we pay for things. Marsha over here, who's been around forever, has volunteered, notice I said volunteered, to try to respond or answer any questions you might have as it relates to lifestyles or community events that are going on. I do have a list of who wants to speak on what topics. So to get through it. This is town meeting style in that there's a reason why there's a gap in the middle. When you get called on, you're going to come around to the podium. You're going to use the microphone because we are recording this, and there are people who are on Zoom. We're going to go through the list of people who have signed in. I'm going to call you up. I need you to come up to the podium so you can speak. You got to identify yourself because it is being recorded, and people are on Zoom and they can't really see you. Did you ask people on Zoom?
Because we couldn't get to that podium area, we couldn't get in.
But as you were trying to check in, but we don't have a large list, so I'll at least try to get some people that have a different topic. What I will say, if you weren't able to sign in because of whatever, if we've already covered everything, then you really don't need to speak. Making a statement is nice, but if somebody has a topic that has not been discussed and they would like to ask that question, as long as time is permitting, we'll be able to do that. I mean, I can adapt to that. I'm the moderator. I'm Steve McQueen. I'm the vice chair, president of the board, and Dave Kramer, who is the president, is out of the state. So I'm running the meeting tonight. I'm going to refer to myself as a moderator because we are doing this town meeting style. I'm moderating the meeting. I will call on who will speak again on the microphone. I'm going to try to cover as much as I can based on the questions we have. Once I'm done with that, then we'll start doing the discussion. Each member, and I refer to you as members because that's how it works here. You have to be a member, not just a resident, but a member. We'll have an opportunity to speak on whatever topic that they have signed up for, and I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Sam. To ensure fairness, the moderator will not recognize a speaker for a second term until everybody who wants to speak has had an opportunity to speak. I don't think that's going to be an issue, but I want to make sure I put it out there. This is really important. The board will not be making any decisions tonight on anything. To ensure fairness, the moderator will recognize the speaker for a second. The board will not be making any decisions during the meeting. It is intended for sharing information in an organized and respectful manner. It is not a debate on the merits of any particular idea or proposal. We are not going to, again, give any comment on the merits of anything that is discussed tonight. We are just going to listen and we're going to record it. Both Jasmines are here to keep notes. We're going to make sure that everybody's comments are captured, and it will be put out to the community as a synopsis of tonight's meeting or town hall. Again, yeah, but you would turn your phone off. All right, so let me get into at least the hot topics. Clearly, the issue with the access gate is something that people have questions about or may not fully understand the purpose behind it. So there is only one purpose for having those gates out front. We are not a gated community. We are a restricted access community. We restrict vehicular traffic use by the gate for the gates. That's the only reason why we have gates, is to keep unauthorized vehicles from entering the ponds at Serenade. It became crystal clear over a long period of time that they were incapable of doing that. How many of you have had to deal with solicitors? How many of you put on Facebook, there's solicitors here, do something about it? We have solicitors because they can just drive in whenever they want. The gates do not control access currently. Solicitors, whether it's somebody's doing it like solar panels, landscaping, or church groups, can come in anytime they want, just by waiting for somebody to drive up to the gate for the gate to open. The gate opens very slow, closes very slow. So the board, over a long period of time, looked at how do we solve that problem. We've identified there's a problem. People are getting in that we don't want to come in, driving in. How do we solve that problem? Over several months, we discussed and debated multiple options of doing it. Again, just to highlight, January 20th board meeting was the first time it actually appeared on a board agenda to discuss the gates, which we did. We also decided that we needed to do a workshop because we had a lot of competing ideas and a lot of competing proposals that we needed to kind of flush out. So on the 13th, we had a workshop. The workshop agenda had every single proposal attached to it. Everything was on it. We just discussed it and tried to come up with an idea of what we would want to do. Understanding the goal is to try to prevent people from driving in here that don't belong here. So knowing what the goal is, we looked at multiple options of trying to do that. We needed to enhance our current system, and after several meetings, that third meeting again on the 24th, we made a decision that we were going to go with a double gate approach. Double meaning we got the two, people call them paddles. But our gates are set up to where we have an exit gate and we have an entrance and exit, and there's an island in between. So they're separated from each other. On our gates, there are two gate doors that open up. So we looked at and decided to go with the quick arms or paddles that corresponded to about the same size. We didn't want to have a single arm that was kind of long, kind of heavy, because we knew that that might become problematic. So we decided to go with a double, up, down, double, so that it would be quicker, wouldn't be as heavy, less likely to break just because of wear and tear. Keeping in mind that all we are doing is enhancing what we already are doing. But the goal is to try to stop people from coming in. The board has a responsibility to make sure that that's what happens. It was clear the current gate system did not do that. So that's the solution we came up with. A lot of people are concerned about the impact of having that second arm. It will not impact anything beyond what is already impacted. You already have to put your code in. You already have to use your POTS card to open the gate to enter. What we're trying to do is stop people from following you in that do not belong here. It's not for traffic control, it's not to stop burglaries, it's not to do anything else other than stop unauthorized vehicles from entering.
Right before it starts. Did you know 100% of floors test positive?
You just hijacked my sound. I now have no sound on my laptop.
I just left the meeting. That's so crazy.
My volume is all the way up.
Just exited the meeting.
I heard you. Oh, okay. Now everybody's saying what happened to the sound.
That's not chicken, he likes fish and potatoes. You want to taste it? She's two, is she allowed fish? I don't know, she'll eat it. Fish.
This meeting is being recorded. Being recorded. Being recorded. Being recorded. Being recorded. Being
Screw that, it's not working.
Hey, girl.
Is pushing back against President Trump over comments made Sunday. U.S. leader saying he does not think the Pope is doing a very good job and called the Pope a liberal catering to the radical left. For his post or for another post of an AI picture many took to be a depiction of President Trump as Jesus. Stocks climbed amid cautious optimism about the global economy. The Dow surged 302. The S&P 500 finished ahead 69.
company, if they're willing to, well, what would it mean? Would it Iran, that's not an outcome that is acceptable to us, and it should be acceptable to anybody, but for the president's goals here, to keep nuclear weapons, to keep the worst weapons of war out of the hands of the Iranians. You said there's progress being made here. I'm not hearing the next. Iran don't do the next step. You also think to work on.
To see how much you can save, visit spectrum.com/your savings.
The phone or through email. It must be placed on a warned meeting for the board to vote on it because we are trying to waive a requirement of the statute and also of our governing documents that we are. So that has to go in front of the board during a warned meeting where we would consider whether to grant it or not. This board decided at that point to avoid future requests coming in that would have to go through that process just to be denied, is that we did a resolution that just restated what is already the case. But we did that so the management company, when asked, can just say no. Otherwise, they would have to continually bring it to the board for us to have a meeting to say no. So it doesn't affect property values. It doesn't affect resale, anything, because we are a 55+ community. We did not change that. We did not vote on anything that changes our governing documents. We just restated in a legal fashion what our position was on future requests. Keep in mind that that whole 20% threshold, where it says you have to maintain at least up to 80. Example, everybody knows my wife, Josie's here somewhere. When we moved in here, Josie wasn't 55 yet. I was. If I died when we first moved in here, that 20% threshold requirement allowed her to stay. Otherwise, if it wasn't there, she would have to move. So it doesn't affect that. And also, again, the board can grant a waiver if it's appropriate. The resolution was nothing more than restating what was already the case, so the management company can tell a realtor the answer is no. So that's really what that comes down to. The 80-20 is a marketing ploy, to be honest with you. I know a lot of our documents made some comment about up to 20%. All that is the threshold by which we lose our 55 status. We never want to come close to that. As of right now, we at least have gotten enough affidavits back from people that we have now verified. I think it's 82%. At least 83% of the people who responded are over 55. So we're not in jeopardy of losing our status, but we still have 90 some odd homes that have not responded yet. Yeah, it's taken a long time. Keep in mind, we have to do this every 2 years. So this is something you have to do. And the law requires that we do it in order to maintain our status. So that's why it was so important, so imperative that everybody respond as quickly as they can so that we know what we have.
Would you explain the process, what people have to do to register? Here hasn't done that yet?
Yeah. Hold on just a second. Since I'm on that subject, let's explain to people what that process is. So it's actually pretty simple. You can come here. There's a form that you have to fill out. You do have to provide identification, driver's license or otherwise, indicating what your age is. It's for everybody in the household, not necessarily owners. Another question was, does this mean renters? Yes, it does. It's whoever's in the household. So it's a pretty simple form. You can do it in person. You can do it by email, but you're going to have to make a photocopy with your ID and send it in, and make sure you send it to either Jasmine so they can record it. It's not, I mean, there's no online form, but the form is available online. You can, or just stop in here anytime and tell them you need to do your affidavit, and they'll take care of it right there in front of you.
1 minute.
Okay. And we're done. So hopefully everybody understands what the process is. Okay. I was just informed to make sure people who are on Zoom, make sure you're muted, just to make sure. Okay. So that was the bulk of what people had questions about. Hopefully I've done a pretty good job of explaining what we did and how we did it. We do recognize that we need to do a little bit better job of trying to get information out in a timely manner. However, all this information was available, but clearly we need to do a little bit more. I will say that even on one of the things that we've already changed is that on the minutes of the meeting, if the board has any discussion on an agenda item, we've asked that the minutes reflect what that discussion was. Keep in mind that we have conversations by email every day about certain topics that we might be working on. So that's why when you come to a meeting, it's pretty quick and efficient because we already have a good understanding of what we're voting on. If we have a question about what we're voting on, we will ask each other those questions after it's been moved and seconded. And we have asked that at least that be included in the minutes so it's a little bit clearer. But everything that is on our agenda is attached to the warning and it's all available. I know this last one, there were so many pictures on it, it was hard to send it as an email, but it is available. And I think that's pretty much it as far as the information. I will do my best to answer any specific questions you have about the gates, pedestrian vehicle, otherwise the 55 plus. My cohorts up here will try to answer questions that you might have on something else, but I'm going to restate this. We are making decisions tonight. We are not going to debate the merits of any statement, comment, question, or anything. If you do have an idea or a suggestion on how we might be able to accomplish our goal more efficiently and effectively, please share it with us. We've made the best decision we can make based upon what we need to do. What was our goal? The gates, keep people from driving in that don't belong here. If you could come up with a better solution, please share it with us. That's also part of being able to, you know, again, the Q&A. So, we all set?
Yeah. All set.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. All right. So again, Ken's going to talk about any landscape stuff. He's going to talk about any finance stuff. Mark's going to talk about any lifestyle stuff. I'm going to do my best to talk about what I just talked about. So let's get started. Sam. Surprise, surprise, right? Hi, Sam. Sam Jones, come on down.
Don't start my time yet. Hello.
There we're.
Hello. I promise it's gonna be less than 33 minutes. I wrote it out and practiced it.
Your time starts now.
62 seconds. Good evening, and thank you to the board and management for holding this town hall call.
Hell no.
I hope we will have more in the future. And thank you to the residents here tonight and on Zoom There's 145 people standing in here. We haven't broken the fire code yet. There's over 89 people on Zoom right now. This turnout speaks volumes about the level of interest in this community. Over the past week, about 1/3 of our homes, 577 homes, have taken the time to sign a petition asking for more information and clarity regarding the proposed entry gate project and the age 55 80/20 resolution. Thanks mostly to the initiatives of Keith Bracknell, right there. In addition, many residents have written individually to the board with thoughtful questions and concerns covering a myriad of topics. And don't forget the numerous concerns communicated on our community social network. I don't use the FB name. That level of engagement is not about opposition. It's not about opposition. It reflects a shared desire to better understand decisions that affect our community. Many of us are simply looking for clarity. I got a list of questions. I'm not going to do it. You'll hear them later. We respect the board's responsibilities and roles, and we appreciate the opportunity to have this discussion forum openly. The goal tonight is straightforward: to listen, to understand, and ensure that decisions moving forward reflect both good process and the interests of the community as a whole. I voted for this board to make decisions in the best interest of our community. With homeowners now being informed and now having the opportunity to share input, I trust you, the board, will make the right decision, whatever that may be. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. I wonder if Sam's running for anything. I'm not sure.
We have
Thank you, Sam.
applications for board positions.
Thank you, Sam. All right, Keith.
Hello.
Yeah, I gotta make sure it's turned on. Yeah.
Turn it on the bottom. It says mute on, it's on the bottom. Right. Oh, it's
Okay.
Hello.
Yep, it's working.
My name is Keith Bracknell. I live at 17814 Blazing Star Circle.
Yeah, closer to the microphone, please.
The workshop that you referenced didn't have an agenda, so I didn't even know what the workshop was for. And I know that the board made a decision in February to go forward with that gate project, but I don't think, I didn't attend that meeting either. So I didn't have an opportunity really to express my objections to it. But I'm here to present 157 petition signatures, one for each of the residences that I've visited. Some of them Sam collected for me. And it's to stop the double gate project at Palms. But I know that the signatures don't really do that. What they do is to prompt the board to have another meeting on this, specifically on this issue. My canvassing made it clear that there is an overwhelming opposition to the double gate. Many of the people that I canvassed were not even aware of the project. The board has not made it clear what problem the double gate solves. At least it didn't do it until tonight. I was confused about whether it was tailgating or speeding or crime prevention. Talking about tailgating and speeding, the residents, the guests, deliveries, healthcare providers, contractors, and emergency vehicles must pass through the gate. They have e-stickers and codes. slowing down traffic through a double gate will likely increase tailgating and speeding in the neighborhood because you have been delayed. You're going to try to get through that gate. Why do I believe that? Because I think that it takes about 3 minutes per car to pass through the double gate. Just imagine if there are only 3 cars ahead of you, then it's going to take you 10 minutes to get through the gate. If that double gate has been in, if that double gate had been in place when I moved here, I would not have moved here. I don't need that, this level of inconvenience and frustration in my life. So let's talk about crime prevention a little bit. I moved here in August of 2020, and there is no crime problem in the Palms, and never has been. And in fact, crimerate.org ranks Claremont an overall A+ crime grade. I invite you to check it out, by the way.
You got 3 minutes, but I'll let you continue if you can wrap it up, please.
All right. Furthermore, I do not agree with spending $27,876 to implement this project. The project will increase breakdowns, damage, and maintenance costs, $500 per event. I believe our HOA fees are already high enough without unnecessary expenditures. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Keith raised the one question he did about the cost. Before we go on to the next person, which also has questions about the gates, I'm going to let Marv talk about the cost and the process by which we determine how we pay for things. So that way, you'll at least know what that is before we move forward.
Well, as far as the financial, we are presently with over $800,000 that has been set aside. By the end of 2026, we will have $405,000 in our reserve account. That reserve means that we can use that money for the gates, the ADA button, the pool, the replacement of the plantings that have been frozen. Now, this is not out of our budget. So we will not consider a 2027 increase in assessments because of these items, because we are setting this money aside on the reserve. So hopefully everybody understands there will not be an increased assessments because of the upgrades and the improvements. I'm not going to say there's no, couldn't be some upgrade or increases because of other items that are presently budgeted. But the items that we are talking about, I can't emphasize it enough. This money will not be taken out of the budgeted items. It's going to be out of the reserves. We've had, like I say, we have 405,000 plus the pool, the heating system, and the pump will all have been in place and paid for. You don't have to worry about any of that. Plus, it is recommended that we have 3 months of operating expenses on deposit as a contingency fund. Presently, we have $510,000 in that account. That's again contingencies if we really run into issues. And we're going to have $405,000 by the end of this year, minus whatever money we spend for the plantings, pool motor, the ADA button, the gates. All of that will come out of that 405,000. It will not come out of your pockets for 2027 assessments. I can assure you of that.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Okay, so that's a little bit of an explanation of the money and where it's coming from. So we get that out of the way. The next person up, Don, I think that's you.
Yeah, I don't think I can walk up there, but somebody will hand me the microphone, I can talk from right here.
I'd be delighted to.
All right. So hold it for about 2 seconds if it's off.
There we go.
It is definitely.
Yeah, I want to speak on the gate. I know you've gone through all the explanations and everything, but my wife had an incident that I think needs to be looked at. She came into the gate. There was a car sitting right in front of the gate. I'm not talking back from the gate. I'm not talking in one of the lanes. I'm talking right in front of the gate. Of course, when she comes in, we have a sticker in the windshield. It opened the gate. The young man drove through. If there would have been an arm there, I think it from what I've seen before, she would have got trapped. Because the arm would have come down, either hit her car or stopped her right there. She couldn't go through, have to go back around. She followed the gentleman all the way down around Blazing Star on the far end. And she stopped and asked him what his business was there. He said he was going to this house. She said, well, why didn't you get somebody to open the gate? He said he didn't know. And he was very vague. But for me, I don't think this second arm gate is going to do anything to get it broken. I would rather see the money spent. Thinking people would be going around and not the pedestrian gate, to me, still needs to be up there. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Actually, which microphone was Don using? Because that worked really well. I'm gonna use that one.
Okay. I think I told you.
All right, ooh, this definitely works better. Thank you, Don. To try to answer, I'm gonna answer at least one question I took out of that, just as much as I can. As far as the layout of the gates, nobody's gonna get trapped between gates. They're not that far apart. This is strictly to try to prevent people from piggybacking in. We're doing exactly what you just described. So again, the video may not have been as clear, but the gates aren't that far apart. They are in tandem. The primary focus is to make sure that we restrict people from entering that are not supposed to be entering. And this was the best solution that we could come up with in order to be able to do that. But as far as getting trapped, they're not that far apart.
You have to.
Okay.
I think this is not what happened.
So,
I'll sit in front of you.
Yeah.
And you pull up and reach your leader. They gotta come up.
So Don, thank you for asking that question.
That's a good question.
So it's a good question, but that is actually why we're trying to do this. Somebody's sitting there like that. First of all, the barrier arm will be a little further away from where the main gate is. So they can't get that close. There's going to be lots of signage. It may seem obvious, but there's going to be a lot of signage. Residents on the right, visitors on the left. Don't, one vehicle at a time. If you damage our gate, it's $500 fine. All that stuff's going to be there. We're pricing it out and getting examples of it as we speak. So we can do that, but it will be there, making sure people know what to do. If you have somebody that is just sitting there, the way you described it, the way this is going to be set up and how it's triggered, they won't be able to sit there like that because they're not going to be able to get close enough to the gate itself. But we will continue to try to get examples out of what it's going to look like once we get a little bit more from the vendor. But generally, it is double gate, but the primary purpose here is that paddle gate comes down after a vehicle goes through. So a vehicle that's tailgating can't without hitting the gate. If they damage the gate, two things. If it's a resident, you're going to get fined by the board. If it's not a resident, it's called vandalism. It's a crime. So we will deal with that if that happens, and we are prepared to deal with that as well. Thank you for the question, Don.
Yeah.
Okay. Louis.
Louis? Louis? All right, you're up next.
All the experts gonna be on deck.
All right, so Louis is making his way on deck. It's Susan Edwards. On deck. All right, Louis,
Which one do I turn forward?
press the button to turn it on. Yeah, they can leave it on. It's on.
Those themselves, believe it or not, I'm over 55. That's my main concern, not really a concern, not really a big deal, but those open pedestrian gates, which you don't favor, but I like for aesthetics reason. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yes, you did.
Aesthetics. It's not gonna keep anybody in or out or around, but it looks better. It looks like an open hole. In life, I like closure. And that's what it would be. If you guys still got the old gates, then get a handyman to hang it. It's not gonna cost $20,000 to hang those old gates. And that's it. I'm playing dominoes back there. That's why it took long.
Okay. Thank you, Lou. Susan, you're up. And after Susan, Phil. Phil Hatton is on deck.
You give that to the next person.
Okay, thank you, Phil.
My concern dovetails with Don's. Did you turn the mic on?
Just close.
Just gotta get close to you.
My question dovetails with Don's. It's regarding the window stickers we have. When we pull in, we can be behind 3 cars and we're triggering that gate. Are we gonna deactivate the use of that? Or how's that gonna stop it from opening up someone that's 2 or 3 cars ahead of you and then you can't trigger it again?
Yeah. Very good question.
Yeah.
It's gonna be moved so it doesn't do that. I know it's hard because we're working with the vendor and trying to fine tune everything we are doing with signage and placement. The vendor knows that needs to be moved. She's even commented, you do know we have to move that. And we went, no kidding. So we know that's going to happen. It's going to make sure again, so that, because right now it's as far back as it is now, so that because people wanted the gate to start opening quicker. Right. But it also is why 4 and 5 cars come in behind you. So it's all going to be moved. It's all going to be signed. The whole, again, purpose here is to try to stop people from piggybacking or tailgating in. It's going to be set up so that's the purpose and that's what it's going to do. At least that's how it's going to be designed to do that.
So about being just in the working, would that be on one side, like the resident side?
Yes, so again,
the other side?
as I said, residents to the right, guests to the left. So the residents, and that's why it has to be relocated. So it only gets triggered by residents driving in, right, not somebody pulling up to the panel to place and put in a code. So we know that, and it's going to be relocated so that it can accomplish its goal.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, David. I should have said, David, you're on deck. David Bodwin.
I'm here to talk about the gate. The 55 and up, Steve, you presented very nicely at the beginning. I just happen to disagree with a lot of the things you said. The 80-20 rule is there for a reason. I know it's not, there aren't a lot of people in here under the age of 55. I think we did the math and we're at 3.4%. So it is friends of ours that are trying to come in. We purchased under 55 4 years ago. A lot of the people I've talked to bought here for the reason that, you know, the community stays vibrant with some younger people instead of it just aging up and out. Okay. But the thing that kind of irritates me or got under my skin a little bit was you mentioned talking about the gate. You talked about it, you deliberated, you got a bunch of different potential solutions and you talked about it. This 55 and up, eliminating the waiver, you never addressed to the community, never asked anyone's opinion. Now, I'm probably in the minority, fine, but I think everyone would have liked to at least have some say on it. But what did you guys do as far as deliberation and looking at alternatives and assessing what that would do, because in my opinion, it does change the value of homes when you eliminate buyers from the pool. So when did you guys start your discussions? What alternatives were put and discussed? And why did you land on what you landed on and what the timing of the whole thing is knee-jerk reaction. You guys panicked. You didn't have the information you needed for the state. End of story. Has nothing to do with how many 55s. You didn't have the information. The survey was asked for and expired in October, and they haven't even gone knocking on doors. Here we are in April. So again, what other alternatives did you look at? Did you evaluate what it does to the value of the community? Did you ask anybody any other thoughts or how this could impact the community? This isn't, you can change the color of your house type stuff. This is no waivers, period. What other options did you guys discuss versus just saying no waivers, 45 and up, 10%?
As I stated in my opening comments, we are a 55+ community. Waivers are permitted primarily for the purpose that I described. That was the discussion. That's all there is to it. Is that this is a 55+ community. This board and previous board was not inclined or not in favor of granting waivers for something that is already a known and given. We are a 55+ community.
It's a known and given that you can have up to 20%.
Okay. I've already answered that, but thank you.
So did you receive any information from the Leland attorney saying that you should let the folks in that were communicating to try to buy?
I'm not to discuss our legal counsel's discussion other than they were the one that prepared the resolution for us as a result of the request being made.
Well, yeah, in your opening statement, you said they said that you shouldn't allow. But I think their suggestion to you changed, and I'm just wondering.
No, it didn't.
Okay.
It never changed. Okay. What we did not change anything other than to make it clear we are a 55+ community. Waivers are permitted, but we are not inclined to grant them, and we don't have to.
Like I said, I figured I was in the minority.
Yeah.
Everybody lost there under the 80-20 rule. Okay.
So you guys, I will answer that. I'm going to take that as a question. The 80-20 rule, there's no such thing. All the law says is that you have to stay above 80%. Otherwise, you risk losing your 55 status. There is no 80-20 rule. That is a marketing ploy by realtors. It does not exist. It never did exist. It just allows for up to. That's it. This board, other boards, the decision was to move forward with the resolution. So it was clear. Don't ask. This is our position. We are a 55+ community. And that was, again, part of my presentation. Yeah. So, yeah, he's throwing off the lights.
I just think it's unfortunate that it wasn't presented to the community. Again, maybe I am minority, but as years go on in this community, it's nice to have folks that are younger. You even mentioned if anything happened to you, Josie was under 55.
And that's where the 20% comes in, up to.
Right, and where are we at currently?
Actually, we don't know because we haven't gotten all of them yet.
Over.
No, we don't have our organization yet.
Well, I'm over 80%.
As I said during my little presentation, is that we are like at 83%, but there's still 97 home residents that have not reported yet. So we don't have 100%, so I don't know the exact number. But at least we're not in jeopardy, as I stated earlier, we are not in jeopardy of the 80%.
Okay. It's unbelievable how much work the two camps have put in to trying to get these numbers from people. And they keep begging and begging, sending out violation notices now, I understand, to get people to come to the office to report their information.
Okay. So we're going to move on to next. So Lisa, did you also want to speak as you wrote down as well? All right, and we'll keep track of the 3 minutes. Please, everybody can speak.
It's actually a little disappointing to have, people.
The microphone, because we remember we have people on Zoom and also it's being recorded.
To me, it's disappointing to hear all the applause and, you know, it really feels discriminatory. And for those of you who have gone through purchasing a home, it's very stressful. And as you had mentioned, you actually said it was March that this started, and it wasn't. It actually started when the contract of the house was on January 29th. From that day, there was 45 days. It wasn't a 30-day closing date. It was 45 days. So there was plenty of time. And the problem that I have with this is the principle of it is that you waited until a week before closing to tell the buyers that they were not allowed to do this. And it's been done before. So I understand we're not trying to change the 80-20. We moved here because we love being here for that reason. We love the community and we have friends who love the community. And I just feel like they were discriminated against, and I don't like how everything happened and the dates. You know, I could go through the timelines. We have an estoppel letter from Leland dated February 26th. So for those of you who have gone through purchasing a home, even before they had the inspection, they asked the Jasmines. Well, no, I can't remember which one, but I do have the email that says we weren't even close to being at the 20%. So there was no real scare that we were going to be over. That was the second. So then they rescheduled the inspection, paid for the inspection on the 5th of February. Everything just kept moving forward. Only to at the last minute, like 7 days before, you guys said no. They've already paid. They've already put money into this. Everything was advertised. There was nobody saying that they couldn't do this. They did everything in the steps that they were supposed to do.
Okay.
So I would implore, I know that there are special circumstances, and given the dates on this, you guys didn't even send out this until the day they were closing. Their closing date was March 13th. That's when you guys sent out that reinforced letter. Okay. I feel like they should be grandfathered in. I feel like we should have a reconsideration, and I would implore that you please do that, given the circumstances of everything. And I have all the information if you want it for dates and everything. This is not something that's malicious. And it actually makes me sad because I love this community. It makes me sad that you guys are all clapping. I don't understand it. What have we done? We haven't done anything to anybody.
Yeah, but
And there is we're only at like 4%. There is no scare that we're gonna kick everybody out of 55 and up.
okay, thank you. Okay, I realize you want to try to show support, but that's not the appropriate place for this at the meeting either way. So we want to try to get through this. Brian, you're up, and then Steve Schaefer is on deck.
Brian, I think love to ask. I'm not here to talk about the gates or the the waivers or anything like that. I just want to know, could you please provide a sort of an overview or a refresher? Can you provide a refresher for all of us as to when certain things go to the community for a vote and when the board is authorized to act without notice or without involving the community?
Sure. So the shortest answer to that, Brian, is that only if there are changes to our governing documents does it have to go to a vote of the community, and that's what we did in December, and there's a certain percentage threshold. We are elected to manage the community on your behalf. It's representative. Our bylaws, our governing documents, and still the authority on the board and that fiduciary responsibility to make sure that we are managing this property to the best of our ability. We create the budget. The budget lays out priorities. Everybody has an opportunity to comment on that. The budget document is kind of like our roadmap for what we do throughout the year. Some things change, the board has the authority to do that. The CAM, has the authority to spend a certain amount of money depending on what the item is within what is budgeted. If we need to change, I refer to it as a program change or a line item change, then the board needs to approve it at a board meeting. So if we want to take money from, let's say, landscaping and put it in lifestyles, the CAM can't do that because it's not within the same budget. The board would have to do that, but that's the board's responsibility in order to make those decisions. We try to inform the community the best we can on when we are making those decisions. So if you have any comment or questions about it, but generally it's pretty straightforward. It is our day-to-day management of the property itself. But the budget is our roadmap. If you really want to see where we put our priorities and where we think we need to spend our money, just take a look at the budget. It's all right there.
As a quick follow-up to that, are there any other items coming up that we don't yet know about that might create a certain?
No, not that I'm aware of, but again, early on in my opening speech, if you want to call it that, we're committed to trying to make sure the community has a better understanding of what we are all discussing through email, to be honest with you. A lot goes on where we have ideas, suggestions, and nothing really results in a vote or decision being made, but it is discussions we're having. So we're going to try our best to do at least a monthly board update, capturing stuff that we've been talking about, what might be out there. If you do have suggestions or recommendations on things that we should be considering, please email us and let us know, or stop up here and let us know. The only official information is going to come through email or on the Leland when you get the alerts. Everything else is not official. Everything else is just noise. If you really want to know what's going on, email us directly. We will email you back and let you know.
The biggest unknown I see coming up, just
yes, because it hasn't come up yet. Go ahead, Ken.
It's the landscaping. We've got a lot of frost, fruit freeze damage in the neighborhood, and the HOA hook is on the hook to replace builder supplied plants. And we're doing the walk of the neighborhood next month. Or the vendor's actually doing the walk of the neighborhood. The catalog knows. It could be a big number, like $100,000, $130,000. We don't know, but it's a big number. Will the trees in the common areas be part of that? I don't see it off, that's like a storm.
The trees right now are not on that list. We don't have that. Write down, please. Keep on, Ken.
What we got is more. No, I mean, that was it. Basically, we're looking at having the vendor look at the plants that were killed by the cold. Is the next step. We had done a walk at the landscape. The previous landscaper late last year, came up with a list of plants that had died over time. That list, we walked that list last month, I think it was. That came out to about $38,000 worth of plants. I think it was about 1,500 plants in total. So now that number is growing and that number's out the door just because we're going to do all the plants at once. We want to get the new plants in and mulch it and you can be done with it. Otherwise, we're going to have to do it multiple times. Really quick, just a personal question on our house. Lovegrass, we had the tree that fell over in the common area because of Milton. There was still a hole there. It wasn't near a storm drain. It wasn't near like a power outlet or anything like that.
We're still looking at the trees, right now. I don't really have a definitive answer for trees.
So we shouldn't just rush out and buy one.
And just to go on that, it's referred to the green belt. So that green space between the road and the sidewalk is HOA property. Yes, a lot of trees came down during Milton. We've been looking at what's the best way to try to replace them. We try to work with Lake County on some of that. It's a lot, and we want to make sure that whatever we do is done, again, the most cost-effective way and satisfy the requirement under the county ordinance that they only be canopy trees. So that's a county ordinance requirement.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, Steve Schaefer, and then Kathy.
My question's answered.
Okay, Kathy. All right, Valerie Lewinsky. Okay.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, and please identify yourself because you're recorded and not.
17515 Latham Star Circle. So, Sam kind of opened up the meeting with what I wanted to talk about and others have as well. I want to start off by saying I recognize, and I think a lot of people do, that what the board does is voluntary. We were elected to act on our behalf and it is appreciated. And it's not easy job and it takes a lot of your personal time. Same goes for the management company being in place to take care of things for the community. One of the concerns that I think is coming up that I hear also is that a lot of things get discussed on Facebook. And I think it would be more productive, and I'd say me, and I think it was mentioned, there's only one general meeting annually for the community, that it might be more helpful to have one maybe quarterly, where people could come and hear some of the things that maybe want to change. And I could see, for example, you know, when we brought it to the community, there was a movie room with chairs. One day I come in, they're gone, they were sold. Oh, okay. Then I come in here and the poker tables are gone and they're out here and the couches are now in here. They're little decisions, but and then the MyQ app gets discussed on the Facebook page. And when you go to comment on it, you get shut down and say you're not allowed to talk about it. So I think, you know, there needs to be a way for us to, especially because the community is still evolving with a new board that's not run by D.L. Horton. Right? This board has been trying to formulate something. And when you keep taking things that affect the community, now you want to put, you know, maybe gates up. But these are all things that people were not on board with when they bought. So communicating better, I think, would be helpful. There's a lot of people here today. And there's a lot of people on Zoom because there's a lot of frustration that we don't know until it happens. So maybe, you know, that's something you could consider in the future.
Thank you, Valerie.
Well, in the Zoom are not hearing it, they lost connection.
They lost it again.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll try to see if we can deal with technology. But thank you. As I said during my opening comments, that we recognize the need to try to do more of that. This is a town hall format, which is truly just Q&A. Fully expect that you will see this again. The board also is committed to doing specific workshops on items where we have to decide what are we going to do, which is what we did. And all of this was part of that workshop. So this is, again, Facebook. Please do not use Facebook to get your official information on anything. It's a great resource. The people who are monitoring it are doing an amazing job of getting information out. That is not the official source of information for anything other than we appreciate that they repost what we email and we put out. Every once in a while, the board members might go on Facebook to try to give a technical explanation of something. Ken is our techno geek here. He will always try to help point people in the right direction on a technical level, whether it's irrigation or otherwise. We do not debate anything on Facebook. Complaining on Facebook, and this is a little bit of a thing for me, is please, if you complain on Facebook, don't expect anything to happen. Period. We're not going to know. Management is not on Facebook. Recently.
Not true, right? One QR was posted by the president.
Okay.
He asked for feedback and that's.
Yeah, and again, moving forward, we recognize the need to do a little bit more of this, and we need to do a better job of getting quick and accurate information out. We recognize that, which is why we're all standing here right now. So we are committed to continuing to get better. However, a lot of this information is already available. Just got to go read it. But we are going to try and do better. We definitely, I said earlier, trying to commit to whether it's in the morning, you know, the minutes of our meeting, trying to do something to be prepared. There's going to be a workshop coming up because guess what? We haven't made a decision on yet. Pedestrian gates. That will be part of a workshop because we have a lot of competing recommendations. So we will discuss that in a workshop setting. So absolutely, we're trying. I implore you, please do not use Facebook for anything than what it is. Not official correspondence from us at all. If you have questions, we've recommended, which is where a lot of the questions came from, is the board of directors email address that goes directly to currently right now, I think Dave is president. He then sends it out to us, tries to respond back to it. Both Jasmines have a lot on their plate. If you email them, it takes time to get back to them. But Facebook's private. It's not something that we have anything to do with. And I know John's waving. Hold on just a second, John. Let me just double check here. We got Marion. You were on deck. And after Marion, we got Vince. So Vince, you're now on deck.
It's on?
Yeah, it's close.
Okay, I want to reiterate some of what Val said. Thank you for your my remarks. But I want to thank the board for all the volunteer time that you put in. This is unpaid time that they're doing. And I know you put a lot of it in and you really care about the community and want to do what's best for it. My first suggestion is this, I had two suggestions. The suggestion is the same as Val's, and that is to improve the communication. And you said that yourself. You did have a workshop. I did attend that, but it wasn't stated at the beginning what the rules were. Who could talk, what the intent of having the workshop was. So you might, like you did for this meeting tonight, state what the purpose is, what the process and procedure is, would be helpful. The town halls were promised 4 months ago, and we're having this one only because, you know, you've seen how much discontent there is right now. So why don't you go ahead and schedule however many you're going to have for the rest of the year. And then maybe use other avenues to improve the communication that gets out to the community. I know in some ways that you are limited on some of the communications, but I have to say that the weekly manager and impromptu emails that come out from the Jasmines have been very, very helpful in explaining things, various different projects, and that could have been used to educate and inform on what happened with the 55 plus policy, non-change. Okay, because what this does is it helps to keep the trust levels high. My other suggestion has to do with the financial side, costing out the projects. Normally what we see on the paperwork is just the one-time cost. And even though Marv had a good explanation of where the ongoing repair and maintenance cost is, you probably should show that because that's an annual cost that's going to happen. And we don't know how long that reserve would happen if a big storm came through and did a lot of damage. All right, I have 3 questions. I'd like to state all 3 questions and then you can decide who's going to answer what. And Ken, I didn't leave you out. Okay, the MyQ app, there was a survey of the residents. It's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that 52% voted no, they did not want the MyQ app. And so why did the board approve about 6,000 to do a trial to try to convince people to use it, which is probably a long shot and it seems like gambling the money to me. That's question number 1. Question number 2, and Jasmine, please do not take offense at this because I think you are terrific at what you do. I think Leland does a good job, but it begs the question, as we're managing this $1 million or so that we pay them a year, has anybody assessed Leland as a management company? Are we getting a bang for the buck that we're paying? Is this the best way for us to manage the community? Has the contract ever been evaluated and renegotiated since it was turned over from Gordon to the HOA? That's just a question that I want to answer. And for Kat, when I first bought here and I wanted a pond view, which I got with the gators and everything that comes with that. Now I understand we have otters. The pond fountain lights were on from like 8 in the morning until I don't know, late at night. And they made a change to that and went from 10 to 10 because there was some savings, which I understand were negligible. But my question is, what were those savings? And is it possible to turn those fountain lights on at 8 or 9 in the morning instead of 10?
So I'll answer.
No, I was gonna say, Ken will answer your question for you.
I was gonna answer on the fountain.
Yeah.
Those fountains, originally when Norton installed them were running 24/7. And those fountains were chalking up each about a $600 electric bill. So we decided to knock them back to 10 to 10, just to save time. Now, if the light is out of sequence with the fountain, we should look at that. I'm sure that light is LED. It uses
No, it's a couple more 10 to 10 now.
but that's the reason. The
Well, what is it, 9 or 8 in the morning?
Start a petition. Fountain.
No, let them start an hour or two earlier like they were. So you can go out and drink your coffee and. I'm talking stuff.
Yeah. Okay. It cut the electric bill in half times, perhaps 6 hours.
Thank you, Martha. Yeah, so I guess that's the short answer. If you do have suggestions, please feel free to email it. And the MyQ app, I'm going to try to answer that one. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen with the MyQ app. We met with the vendor. It was clear that a lot of people didn't really understand it. And we decided, well, let's give it a shot. We haven't gotten very far with that. We're going to revisit that. That's all I can really say at this point. We're definitely going to revisit it. Because it's not what we're not getting what we promised. So we're going to revisit it for sure.
Does that mean you're going to revote it?
Well, yeah, when you say revoting is different than we voted based upon what was represented. Again, it was all part of the warning, is to give 2 months shot to see if get the vendor to come in, because it's all part of the motion. Get the vendor to come in and try to give us some information, educate us on how to use it. We were concerned that there were quite a few people in here that used it appropriately, and it was a safety issue for them. We agreed to spend up to, which would amount for about 2 months, which we have not started doing yet because nothing has happened yet. I will tell you that we're going to revisit this.
The vendor is changing the concept.
Yeah, so the vendor, I know that we've reached out to the vendor to try to get him to come in. All I can say at this point, we're going to revisit that. And you will know for sure when we're ready to do that. And what was your third question? Oh, the management. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, we have a 1-year contract with Leland. When we put the budget together, we met with Leland. We fine-tuned what that budget was going to look like, what the expectations were. One of them was to have somebody here on Saturdays, which is why that Jasmine is here. Because we felt it was important to have somebody here. So we do review that. I know Dave as president, myself, we actually spent quite a bit of time with Valerie, who was their boss, to make sure that we felt that we were getting what we are paying for. That does not mean that we cannot go out to bid and look at another company as time goes on, but it'll be, again, through the end of the year.
Yeah, and I think these girls do a great job. It's not that I'm questioning.
Yeah, I mean, the board, again, the budget process and the budget is our roadmap. You can see that we made quite a few changes, even on that line item for Leland management. We no longer have a salaries line item because we don't pay anybody anything. But we do pay Leland to provide services for us. So that's a line item specific for them. You can see that and you know how much we're spending on it. But I know that as we get into the year, we're going to do the same thing we did last year and fine tune it.
Thank you.
Okay. Vince. And then Pauline is on deck.
Aging topics.
Well, good.
Candy copy told you. Our lawn service, not happy. I've addressed it numerous times with Jasmine, with the Vinnie, who's the manager or whoever works this neighborhood. They mow the same way every time. We have ruts in our lawn. I looked at the contract. They clearly state in the contract that they will change directions each time, which I think it's hard. If there's someone different mowing your lawn each week, how would they even know which way the other ones went? That was number one I addressed with them. the grass shavings all over the lawn, because 2 weeks ago, with all the water we had, there was a lot. I have 3 or 4 piles in my lawn. 2 weeks ago, Jasmine came down, so did he. It was a Monday, right after they mowed it. I pointed to all those areas. I discussed the contract. He said, yeah, you're right. I was told maybe you should put in a work order. But I don't believe you put in work orders for stuff that's in contracts, right? Does that make sense?
So my take on that was the manager, Vinny, strives to not leave grass clippings around in piles. Obviously, his guys don't always hit the mark. And it's been worse lately because we skip weeks of mowing that we normally wouldn't skip when the grass is growing, just to let you know how things are stacking up. I would say definitely suggest a work order, because he'll see it, his crew will see it, and he will counsel them not to do that.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. He was in my lawn 2 weeks ago Monday. They're still there. So how much more can I address it?
He didn't come back out and say,
Yeah.
hey, I'm blowing off.
No, still there. So I don't believe you do a work order for something that's in a contract. If you hire someone to do a job and you make a contract with them, whatever the job might be, and they don't do it, there's 2 answers. One, you ask them to correct it, which clearly he didn't. Number 2, you don't pay.
Yeah, the fact that
where are we at?
The fact that you brought their attention to it, they didn't take care of it is an issue, which is unusual. Because I've typically seen them respond quickly. The mow ruts in the yards are so hard in these tiny yards. It's almost impossible to get those mowers off track without doubling the mow time. And the contract alludes to something to that effect then, or possibly.
That's not what is in the contract, though. Doesn't say where possible.
I'd have to go back and read that again, because my recollection, it has some fuzzy words around it.
Yeah, even just so everybody knows, Ken is the board's liaison to the landscape committee, so that's why he's the one answering it indirectly. The work order thing, it's really to keep track, sometimes. Because if we get work orders that have the same comments, it's easier to track as well. But just, I wanted so the community knew what that was.
So not only will Vinny see it, and he'll supposedly counsel his people, Vinny's boss sees it. And, you know, that's how things happen, is we have to notify somebody. And that's the easiest.
That's what I did. I went to Jeff.
You did.
I went to Vinny.
And I want to
So
say
now,
that was the right way to do it.
right, so now I need Vinny's boss information. You can get that, but that's what we need. If we have to keep going.
We'll work with this.
I don't like jumping to the top. I like to make my steps. Okay, I don't believe you go right to the top.
No, and I think Vinny's boss will believe it more when he hears it coming from the management company, the landscape committee, the landscape liaison with the board.
I won't work for me.
No, you've told us.
Yeah.
He is now aware.
I'm aware, so.
Which means it's up to him.
And if it doesn't, let me know.
Let him know.
You got it, Ken. Thank you.
Yeah, no, again, the work order process is useful and important for anything that might be landscape related, because it does trigger to other people than just going out and telling somebody who's mowing. So even though it may seem a little ridiculous to do a work order for something that seems really obvious, it's important to document it. It's all about documentation, to be honest with you. So that's important to do that.
And we'll see patterns. If we see lots of people complaining about grass clippings left behind, we know we've got a big problem and it's going to need extra attention. And I'll take it to extra attention.
And Pauline, you're next, and then Susan Myers is on deck. Pauline? Did we lose her? All right, Susan?
Susan Meyer.
Yes, Susan Myers? Yeah, it could be. I mean, all even Pauline's question was, when will they be power washing the sidewalks in phase 2? Good question. When are we doing that? Do we know? Power washing in phase 2? Yeah, so the answer is we're working with the vendor right now to schedule that. So, and Jasmine, again, you know that she'll put out the information so people know when it's going to happen. And then Susan, yeah, the question was for the pedestrian gate. We haven't made a decision. Stay tuned. We will do a workshop on that. We have not decided exactly what to do. Please feel free to email any recommendations or suggestions you might have, keeping in mind that putting a gate there with a pin pad on it or code doesn't stop people from walking in. But I do agree, and we are looking at what can we do with what we have there. All right, and Jeremy. Wendell?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I should have said you're on deck. You're on deck, or now you're up. You're up. And then if somebody could let John know that he's on deck.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. My name is Charlie Wendell, and I'm new to the community. I'd like to welcome myself and my wife Karen. I've been here a little under a year. Enjoy the facility. Not full time. Right now, kind of travel back and forth. One quick question. Some of the work that is contracted out, sidewalks repairs, pool repairs, anything that that's maybe not landscape and potholes, cleaning the sewer lines, stuff like that, storm drains. What's the protocol as far as inspecting it while it's being done? And then the completion of it, and then making sure that it's done with the quality and the way it's supposed to be done, to assure that we're getting, what we're paying for. And I'm a believer in quality and consistency.
You volunteering?
I told my wife I was going to ask this question.
In all seriousness, I mean, it's a joke, but I mean, if you are willing and you have the area of expertise to help us in some of these areas, we're always willing to accept your help. However, the management company, Leland Management, they're responsible for making sure that the contract's carried out as agreed to. They're not building inspectors. Actually was, but they're not. So if it requires a permit, obviously Lake County has to close out a permit. It's just to throw that out there again on the gate. We have to get a permit, electrical permit from Lake County. So that's all part of that process as well. I know that with the sidewalk repairs, that stuff all goes out and the managers update when we have it. However, I'm hoping that a monthly newsletter sort of from us will show that we have a lot of these discussions, but we never really come to any decision yet, but we are having those discussions. Please, if there's anything that you would like us to take a look at or want to know about, email the Palms director email or the Jasmine's directly. Let them know. They will share it with us and we will work with it. And you can volunteer.
I was afraid you were going to say that. But I do I thank you all for what you do. And being a current mayor for a small town in North Carolina, I would not want to have to deal with this soon. I give you all props for being here and being concerned.
Yeah, excellent.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jeremy. All right, John, there. So John wasn't able to get to the board, but I think I know what some of his questions are. 3 minutes, John.
Wait a minute, I had like 6.
Yeah, 3 minutes. But when you announce yourself for the record, make sure you use a microphone because we don't have it written down. Tell them what you're here to talk about. It should be already on.
Hello?
Yep, you're good.
Hi, I'm John Holden. I'm also a board member of the Community Development District. I came before you one day with an agenda item on the Community Development District. I had a lot to tell you. You, as a whole board, said, no, we don't want to hear a word you have to say. That's wrong. Absolutely wrong. That has to change. Next, sprinklers come on 10 a.m. in the morning. They're not supposed to, but they do. A lot of things are happening that aren't supposed to happen, and I mentioned it. So I feel I'm being gaslit by you guys, especially with this second gate. We had years where the gate wouldn't work. Now you want to put a second one in and go through all that again? Okay, maybe it'll work, but we have a pool. You just spent $250,000 and we have no pool. And you have, well, we have this, I'm done with excuses. I feel I'm being gaslit every time I come up and I say there's a problem. You say, blah, 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 blah. It's not getting solved. And we're paying money. All right. The Christmas party that I believe Lifestyle had, How much did we pay for it? There was no profit, as I understand. How much did it cost this HOA? I'd like to know. I went to the record. Pardon?
It was a great party.
It was a great party. I'd like to know how much we paid for it as individuals. And I went to the records and I can't find them. Maybe I'm just not as good as some people, but I couldn't find them. The reserve study. Where did it say in the reserve study anything about these pumps out here? Do you know? Does anybody on the board know?
About the what?
You have a reserve study?
Yeah, I got that part, but the pumps or the motor?
We have an expensive system for filtration out here.
Correct.
As I understand it, and I may be wrong, I'm just speaking, it is not working. And the parts in it are so rare that we can't get them. So why didn't somebody say, let's look at the reserve study? It says rare parts. Whoa, we got to deal with it now. That's just that. Drainage. Some of the houses around here flood. When it rains, between the houses, it floods. That means the landscaping wasn't done properly. Is that something the lawyer is going to deal with? Just like, want to know. We paid this next one. We paid a consultant to get us Spectrum, which I think was a good thing. All right. It was a good thing. We're getting less money. How much did we pay that consultant or did Spectrum? And why didn't we, as a board, say, we don't need to pay them $500,000 or $500,000 or $50,000, whatever we paid them. We can do that ourselves and save all that money for us. We could have gotten that contract because all you have to do is go to the community across and say, what's your contract? And they'd say, just like yours. They already had it. So I'm saying that I feel gaslit every time you guys tell me something that's not happening. Or, and if you look in the minutes, if you look at the minutes.
3 minutes, keep going.
If you look at the minutes, I did not see anywhere in the minutes where there was a detailed discussion of all the stuff you're telling us you discussed on this gate. I don't see that in the minutes. Now, there's some, but not anywhere near what you're telling me. So how can you expect anybody here to understand what you went through to make that decision?
Finish up, John.
Time's up.
Time's up. So what you got? That's it. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
So appreciate John coming up. So I will at least answer partially one of his questions he was asking for. So the reserve study, all that is available. Marcia, do you have the cost of the party? So Marcia is now allowed to speak.
I'm allowed to speak now.
Yeah, so Marcia does have the lifestyles information.
So basically, on the holiday party, and we are having another one, basically all the revenue paid was the $50 per couple, per person. So really, that's all we paid. There was a $5,000 that went from Lifestyles toward the holiday party, but the rest came from sponsorships that Leland helped with and that Lynn and the Lifestyle Committee were able to get. I mean, we had a lot of sponsorships. $6,000 for that. The sales, if we had probably $12,000 that went to that. So really, the money that you're talking about was budgeted. All you really paid for was the ability to go enjoy music, dancing, eating, and somebody to drive you there. So really, all it cost was the $5,000 that we had already budgeted. Anybody else have any questions?
Thank you, Marcia. Yeah, again, the budget is our roadmap for a lot of this. The information on the gates and stuff, as I said earlier, and I'll say it again, every time we put out an agenda, every document is attached to that agenda, everything. All the competing proposals, all that, everything is included in it. Pictures, no matter whatever is needed. He is correct that the minutes of the meeting may not reflect that because the minutes of the meeting only reflect the action of the board at the time of the meeting. We have asked to put, if we do debate something, that makes sure that that is captured within the minutes itself. But there's a lot that we just, Robert's rules, move, second, any discussion, no discussion, vote. That's what the minutes are going to reflect. If we do move, second, discussion ensues, we're gonna make sure we capture that discussion so that people know that we had that discussion, other than those that came to the meeting before the final vote. So that's kind of how that works. And I know, again, getting information, we run our meetings by Robert's rules, which means you can speak on any item that's on the agenda. If you want to speak about something else and it's not on the agenda, but you think it should be, please email us and email Jasmine's to say, I would like you to consider whatever this is. Dave is president of the board. We're working with Jasmine to see about putting together an agenda item or at least getting more information so that the board can have a conversation and discuss it before voting on it. So it's kind of the process. Everybody who signed up to speak has spoken. I think I've said enough. Yes.
Where are we time? We just want to give the people on Zoom an opportunity to do your.
Come on down.
Let me respond to just a couple of the things for John real quick. He's not, never mind. Well, I'll go ahead and tell it. I'll tell you all so you hear.
Yeah.
The irrigation runs from midnight to 8 a.m. and for the main spray heads and rotors. The drip lines run from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., which is allowed by county ordinance, the micro misters, the drip lines that are under the flower beds. And then at 8 o'clock in the evening, the big sprinklers start running again. And everything is cross-checked and double-checked. If you see something, I would be shocked, but let us know.
Yeah, and to go with that, if you see something that doesn't seem right, put in a work order, Ken can see it. Okay.
Where are we currently on the DR Horton trying to claw back funds that they're having to expense?
So, all right, so thank you for asking. So those of you, I will repeat the question. So she wanted to know what the status of the construction defect lawsuit against DR Horton, 4-Star, and I think 2 others got added to it recently, which is what we voted on and discussed at the annual meeting. It is moving forward. Our attorney has been working with engineers trying to collect the information they need in order to support our case. So it is in their hands, as explained at the town meeting in December, what the process is. We are in that process. If you have anything, again, and it's another reason why the work order system, particularly with irrigation or anything along that line, why it's important. We are going to include everything we possibly can as a construction defect with us. If they did not install your reclaimed irrigation lines like they were supposed to, and you had to pay somebody else to do it, we need to know that. It was supposed to be here. It's all going to get added. So it is in process. We haven't heard anything more recent. Our attorney will let us know. And if it's not attorney-client privilege, we will let you know. But as of right now, it's just in process. So that's what that is. Okay, I do have a resident on Zoom who would like to update on the pool. So I'm going to let Ken answer that real quick, and then whoever else, since we have time.
So I'm just going to abridge the pool story. Basically, the pool motor got installed. It was humming along nicely for about an hour. It knocked off at quitting time on Friday. They got it back running again Monday. It knocked off again. The electrician came out and said it's a bad motor. Now we're going back through the warranty process. Now, a lot of people, John was alluding to, are very confused. There's a geothermal system. That's completely different than the pool motor. And the pool motor is single phase because that's what we have on property, is single phase electricity. But anyhow, we're working through the process. Last I heard with the vendor, Jasmine's handling that to see about how quickly we can get a return motor or if we're going to have to go with another vendor.
Okay. Josie, you because you've already spoken once, I'm going to let Josie speak. Okay, Josie, go ahead.
Hi, Josie. Quick question, just 2 questions. Tonight coming here, I noticed that the fire hydrants on Summer Street are being flushed. Do we know why they're being flushed, and are other streets going to be affected by it? That's question 1. And question 2 is, I noticed that we had spot treatments done today. Is something supposed to be in every yard that was treated, or is it every 50 yards? Because normally it was with the community wide, it was every 50 feet or whatever. And those yards treated, because we didn't give enough warning for pets. And that's a big concern of mine.
Yeah, we spoke with the vendor again this morning about signage. Last I talked with them, they're going to do signs about every 2 yards roughly. If that's not happening, let us know. The fire hydrants, I don't have any exact details. I did talk to the guy that's running around doing stuff. They got a manual valve turner and they exercise the valves back and forth.
That's sunshine water, though, isn't it?
It's sunshine water.
Yeah, so
The CDD is also doing the storm drains into the streets. They're putting big balloons in there and pumping the water out so they can inspect it for defect purposes, and also cleaning out the system.
Right. You're hesitating to come forward. It's okay.
I'm waiting my turn.
Okay, yeah.
My name is Linda Stanek. I'm at 17583 Blazing Star. I'd like to know, to your knowledge, has there been any crime in this community in the last 5 years?
To my knowledge, no. And I have communicated with the captain with the sheriff's office, because I had to communicate with him a couple of times because of trespassing and making sure that everything was posted properly. And there's nothing going on here that we are aware of. That doesn't mean that we need to be vigilant. So another thing that's out there is, how many people know what a neighborhood watch program is? All right, good. Well, if you want to volunteer, it's something they may want to consider. Just because we can't stop people from walking in here, but we can have them arrested for trespassing. But we don't know they're trespassing unless it's reported. So a neighborhood watch, or at least neighbors knowing that, would be helpful as well. But as far as any specific criminal activity, nothing that I'm aware of.
Okay, so with that being said, I'm not clear on what actually prompted or what incident prompted the gate issue.
So as I stated in the very beginning, the sole purpose of the gate is to stop unauthorized vehicles from entering this community. It's been happening for a long time. It's been getting worse in more recent months with people for doing the, honestly, it was the church group coming in with their big van full of kids going around door to door saying, knocking on doors and leaving hangers. That prompted calls to the sheriff's office. It prompted them coming out and telling them that if you don't leave, you're trespassing. Please be quiet while I finish answering, because I want to make sure that everybody's clear based on her question. So that's what prompted it. But remember, it is the sole purpose of those gates is to stop people from coming in here who should not be coming in here.
Okay, so evidently the board feels that the money we're spending on the gates is worth not having a solicitor come in, because that's a lot of money.
Well, it's not just, again, it's not just solicitors, but in general, because we also want to make sure that, again, residents are the ones that are coming in or they're authorized. We have a responsibility to make sure we do that. The current gate system does not, and that's why we have the discussions. Now, all of that was in warning, and also was part of the workshop. All that information was included in the warning for the workshop on what we were considering. And the decision was made based upon all the input we got, keeping in mind what the goal is. The goal is to stop people from coming in here that shouldn't be coming in here.
Okay, so I'm not in favor of it, but I know it's the board decision. So has the board done their due diligence to vendor that you're choosing? Have you gone out to some of the communities where this is in existence, talked to the residents, tried to get in, piggyback, and make sure that our cars won't be damaged?
Yes, that was a lot of the conversation we had during the workshop as well. And I even went out and did some video, which was sent out to the community of a neighboring community that has a similar system to try to give a visual on what this would look like. So we absolutely did all that, and that was the decision we made based upon the input, the information.
Okay, so you did go out to some of the communities, because vendors can sell you the world. I mean, they want to sell you the system.
No, we did. We did.
Okay,
Absolutely.
glad to hear that.
And if I look at the 3 gated neighborhoods, I know in the vicinity of here, every one of them has the arm that goes up and down like we're talking about today.
For the sole purpose of stopping people from entering that shouldn't be. So that's again, that's the goal. So Don. Don.
Yeah, I got a question about, you brought up the minutes. if you have a board meeting tonight, not counting it, when are the minutes published? Now, I understand they used to say that the minutes was not published until they're approved at the next meeting. Is this true?
The minutes aren't published, but that doesn't mean we can't put out draft on the top of them so people have an idea what's happening. And that is something that we will do.
That's what I was hoping.
Yeah.
One other question, you're talking about the gates. What about these open houses that the real estate people are doing?
Yeah, now you know why we need to do something with our gates. It's all part and parcel to that. It really is. So
How are they getting out?
they use a code or they pig it back in. Anybody has something else that's has already been discussed?
Wait.
Go ahead
and line up at the mic.
Yeah, if you have something to say, because we're doing good, it's 17 minutes of, and I was going to end this at 8 o'clock. So if you have something that you want to ask or discuss that has not been asked or discussed, please feel free to do so, but come up to the podium here so that you can.
Still with people standing here.
Okay.
I'm Susan Jacobs. So I've lived in a community with those double arms before, and let me tell you that it's more of a headache. You have no idea unless you've lived it before. It's not keeping anybody out. They're going to be broken more than they're not broken. If you think it's keeping somebody out, it's not really keeping anybody out. Just like you don't think these gates, the pedestrian gates, so what's the difference? The pedestrian gates aren't keeping anybody out is what you're saying, but neither are those gates, because if somebody wants to get in here, they're getting in here.
Okay.
I lived it, so.
Thank you. Anybody else have a question or comment on something that has not been discussed? Please, we are pretty much at the end of this. The question about the gates, everything else we have answered, it's been asked. If you have something else, some other item that we have not discussed or asked, please feel free to do so. We've already gone through the other stuff.
Gotta come up here to the
But you gotta
podium.
come up to the podium so that you can, remember, this is being recorded. Somebody beat you too, but you're next.
My name is Robert, I live on Wayne Down before. I don't have a question, I just have a comment. Marion made a comment about what we pay legal. We know what these people do. I don't think the community understands what we get for the monthly service that we're paying for. I think that would be, we pay Leland a fee to manage, not just what they do, but we go back and I can do stuff. County attorneys or whatever it is. I don't think everybody understands the magnitude of what we get.
Okay.
So I think if there was something that could be put out or whatever, that they would understand, I think it would help.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great thing for them to publish for us, because there's a whole bunch of back end stuff that happens that most people don't.
Right, they just see $100,000 or whatever that we paying them, and it's like, for what?
Perfect.
You know.
Good question. Thank you. All right, microphone back this way. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, all right, Mark Federico, so second, I am gonna touch on again.
Guys.
All right, microphone closer.
All right. If you play the video, then this is a truck pulling a trailer, which clearly demonstrates if you pull, you can hit backwards. My other question, and the only one I really want an answer to, Mark voted against this. I'd like him to tell me why.
The board made a decision, the board voted. That's what we did. Majority rules. All right, you ready? You got something new?
Mr. Clarification.
Okay.
It was brought up in regards to the petition, how much the gates were gonna cost. Just wanted to get a clarification as to what I think that number might have been high. That was thrown out there, so.
$27,876.
What time's the vote there?
Okay.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Secondly, by the way, my name is John Rowe, I'm on board local. Secondly, if we got.
Never seen Doritos being marketed.
Or whatever you want to do to the board meetings, I think things would be a lot more clarifying for you Everybody's here. I come to board meetings and there's 7 people here, 3 people here, 15 people on Zoom. You want to manage, you want to hold these people responsible, then you need to come here, not just because somebody started a petition or there's something out there you don't like. Come to the meetings, get an answer, hold the board responsible, and I think you'll be a lot happier than have to come sit here for 2 hours. Yada, yada, yada.
Thank you, John. Who's next? And again, please, something different. Come on, you're gonna get next behind him.
So just one quick comment. Here it was, us. From the standpoint of what we actually talked about was the fun. I really believe that, and the board should, I'm sure it goes
closer. I can pop closer to you. So
sure it knows about a vagrant intrusion that's coming out of a back door, and that's coming out of Waterloo, Sunflower, and all the various vehicles that are coming in here as well. I just wanted to alert that because that wasn't really discussed at the meeting.
yeah, so I'll kind of repeat that. Leave the microphone. So he's absolutely correct. On the back end, remember I said that the gates are only for vehicle traffic. We are going to, the only way we can regulate or control pedestrian traffic is through signage, because we're not putting a gate or a moat around this place. But we are going to make sure, and again, we're working with our neighbors to put up no trespassing signs. If people come in here that do not belong here, they are trespassing. As long as they get prior notice, which is the signage, and if we say you don't belong here, you need to leave, and they don't, you call the sheriff's office and they will come and deal with it. The challenge, yes, I'm getting there. The challenge is, for those of you who don't remember, I spent 37 years as a police officer and I was the police chief for 19 years. I understand what this is and what's going on here, but I also understand the law and how we need to protect ourselves. We are doing it through signage everywhere else. If you see something, say something. To quote my new boss, Mickey Mouse, you see something, say something. Right, Yali? Please do not go on Facebook to complain about it or report it. You have to report it. I mean, you can let people know what's going on, but if you see something, you have to report it. You report it directly to us, and if it's something serious enough, you call the sheriff's office. So, but that's how we're trying to do it, and we're going to make sure we have the signage is in place as we need it.
When you call the sheriff's office, what would normally be the response? Because it's not an emergency.
Yeah, I will tell you right now that unless it's serious enough to, like when we had the vans full of kids coming in here, they were here pretty quickly. Because they also knew that they were doing this and they were kind of prepared for it. So it didn't take all that long. I didn't think, according to the folks who were there, that their response time was actually pretty quick. But Yali's absolutely right. If they're just riding their bicycles through here, you know, they're probably not, they're going to be gone long before they get there. But see something, say something. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Brenda Mazzotti. I live at 17333 Blazing Star. First of all, when you were talking about the gates and all that, there are people that are penetrating this community now. I was picking up my mail a couple of weeks ago on a Sunday, and there was a young man on a Razor scooter that was going around and checking every door, trying to get into this building. And then he rattled the cage of the pool. So I approached him and I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I live here. I'm just trying to get in." And I said, "You're not of age. There's no way." And then he said, "Well, my brother sent me over here to see if we could get in the pool." So they are getting in. And I followed him all the way down when he left this on his Razor scooter. He went down to the first circle, went through the woods there. So
No,
they're coming.
they're coming in.
It's a matter of how ballsy they get into the community. And they start stealing your packages and other things, which will happen. I came from New England and it was our everyday thing. So
yeah,
just be aware of that. The other thing is, I love it here. People are amazing. It's a beautiful place. I just ask that people treat the speed limit within this neighborhood with the same respect when you pass by my house that you would when you get to yours. Being that I'm on that first turn, I'm not kidding you, people are going 40, 45 miles an hour. It's celebrity watch.
Yeah.
Not always celebrity, I hate to say it's not.
One person at a time, she's gonna ring the bell.
It is not. These are either they're guests of people that live here, because it's on Sundays, Fridays, Mondays,
Yeah.
Tuesdays. And, you know, we have those 3 birds that we all adore in this neighborhood. They have a new little duckling with them that's traveling, and sometimes in the street at 35, 40 miles an hour, you are not gonna be able to stop.
Yeah, so,
So just be respectful of my street as much as you are, that's all.
so I will, since it's a question, I'll try to answer. We have inquired and, whether, and again, the captain that I've spoken to, he does the community, safety and stuff. See if we can get a speed card so we can get a better sense of what is going on out here. I will tell you that 25 miles an hour is the speed limit that we have posted in here. Keep in mind, we are private. The sheriff's office isn't in here enforcing speed limit. However, that doesn't mean that we can't do something to make sure people are aware of how fast they are actually going. I will tell you that it's a 25 speed zone. Most people in here are doing about 20. So if you see somebody doing 30, they look like they're going really fast. So I'm not saying they're not, but so it's all part of that perception as well. But I do know, and I've talked a little bit with the board, and I think even Jasmine, about reaching out to the Lake County Sheriff's Office to see if we might be able to get their traffic safety unit to come in and maybe do a little education, maybe put the speed card out so you can actually see how fast your wheel is going and see what we can do with that. Yeah, so if it's a resident and you get a plate number, let us know for sure. All right, anybody else? Because we're about ready to get done. You're waiting.
Yeah, my name is Tom Burley. I live at 17555 Star Circle. And it's just a couple things.
Guys.
First of all, Vinny I did write a work order for all the grass humps in my yard. And they came out the next day and they blew it. And I look over to my next door neighbor's yard and the grass humps are there. So they could care less. They're doing everyone a service. Okay. So then he needs to be made aware that his people are not doing the job properly. Number 2 is every resident that lives in the Palms in the directory at the kiosk. And if they're not, then people are just going to start giving out a passcode that they went to one of the Jasmines to get it. Okay. So until you enforce that, you're gonna have an issue there.
Yeah, I know it's on it. So that's all kind of part and parcel of what we're trying to do.
Okay.
You're absolutely correct. And if people want to get in, they're going to need to have a code because I'm not going to be able to piggyback in.
And number 3, the latest information about the pool motor was that they think it's bad. A motor is either good or bad. Okay. You know, is it the proper size circuit breaker? It should be a 59 amp for a 10 horsepower motor. Okay. You know, there's many things. Maybe it's beyond the capability of the pool company to solve this problem. You may need to spend a little bit of money and get someone else involved.
So we've had an electrician come out and analyze the motor both times. The original motor that went bad almost 2 weeks ago now. He declared that one dead. He also came out with this motor and did some analysis on it. And it's unusually high amperage draw, and it was causing the breaker to trip.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Again, something new, please.
I think that was on.
Yeah, just have to get it close to your face, that's all.
This is Sylvia. I live in 178. My zero waste.
Hold it close.
Yeah. My question is about the irrigation sprinkler system. You know, I complained to the Sunshine Water about our bill because we were done for 3 months. And when I came back, our bill for the last 2 months were the same as when we were done. You know, and then I asked somebody